All right, Matt Barnes, we need a little Phoenix Suns history from your time playing here. And your twins were even born here, right?
Yeah, that's where twins kind of got their first professional games were in Phoenix. Loved the experience. Unfortunately, that was the season that Amari almost lost his eye. He got his eye poked in the preseason. Terry Porter was our coach, fired at All-Star break. Al Gentry came in. 46-36, I think they said. We barely missed the playoffs, but great time, great fan base, and very happy just for this fan base, because I was asking the driver on the way over here, I was like, I know this town's on fire. It's like people were in the streets yesterday going crazy. So I love when you're able to put on for your city, and that's what the Suns are doing right now.
It's so fun to be in these cities where teams haven't been in the finals in so long, because the excitement's up. I mean, you live here in the offseason.
Steve Nash and Grant Hill were on the team when they went to the conference finals in 2010. It's been a while.
Been a while.
I want to age them.
We'll get into that 2010 experience a little later in the show. Robert Ory's going to join us. But, it's good. I like reliving the Matt Barnes glory days. Back to the jump. I'm Rachel Nichols. I am alongside NBA champ Matt Barnes and the Hall of Famer Michael Wilbon. And look who we have. I just want you guys to know that when Wilbon and I go to dinner, I will introduce him that way to waiters, because he's in the Hall of Fame. Sir. Just saying. Look who else is joining us. Our NBA reporter. He is with the Suns on this series. Dave McMenamin, thank you so much, friend. Want to start off with last night's performance. Chris Paul scored or assisted on 54 of the team's 118 points. You have an article up right now talking about CP3. What was working so well for him, Dave, in Game 1?
Well, Rachel, it was a masterful performance because he was able to dictate what the Suns were going to do against the Bucks defense that they were seeing. So in the first quarter, Chris Paul setting the table, 12 points for Devin Booker, not calling his own number. In the second half, he just starts going ham when you started to see Bucks defenders switching, and he had Brook Lopez on an island, hits a 4-point play to get the building going insane and get the momentum on their side. Later on in the third quarter, it's Bobby Portis on him. He backs up his dribble all the way out to mid-court practically, hits him with a crossover, hits him with a hesitation move, finishes at the rim with a finger roll. And Mike Budenholzer said after the game that Chris Paul is so good, he puts us in a no-win situation, because if we play him straight up, he's going to pick us apart in the pick and roll, finding shooters. But if we switch out to try to crowd him, obviously, even though he's 36 years old, still has the ability to blow by guys. So really, his fingerprints were all over that win for the Suns, and a great sign for them moving forward in this series.
Absolutely. Dave, Matt Barnes here. Aside from a new car every time Devin Booker's pulling into the arena, are we seeing a different Devin Booker here in the finals?
Well, what we saw was a continuation of his dominance in Game 1s of the playoff series they've had during this run. He puts up 34 points against the Lakers, then switches himself up in Game 1 against Denver, 21 points, but 8 assists, and he goes 8 for 12 from the field. A 40-piece against the Clippers, which was memorable, obviously, and then he got going with 27 points against the Bucks in Game 1, and it was really about him getting to his spots. Now, it wasn't his most efficient night, but he kept pressure on the Bucks defense constantly. And obviously, if he keeps the Bucks in stress mode, where they're always wondering where he's going to be, or they're always having to shift their defense to account for him, other opportunities are going to open up. So either he could miss a shot, which he did several times, and you have DeAndre Ayton or Jake Crowder cleaning up the offensive glass, or he has an ability to distribute. As you mentioned, he had the 8 assists to start off the Nuggets series. And then defensively, I mean, this is remarkable. According to ESPN Stats and Information, the Bucks players shot 1 for 11 with Booker as the primary defender. Now, that's been a mark against him in his career so far. If he's going to give them two-way play, watch out.
Wow. Dave, there's one thing that didn't go well for the Suns, obviously, last night. We saw Dario Saric, who's an important member of that bench. By the way, that bench needs a nickname or something.
I know,
right? They're pretty effective. But we saw Dario Saric limp off to the locker room, did not come back to the game. Do we know about his status going forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough news. The team announced this morning that Dario Saric will be out indefinitely. He tore the ACL in his right knee, and he had only been playing about 10 minutes per game throughout this playoff run, but he's someone who has Monty Williams' trust. They have ties going back to Philadelphia together, and Monty actually commented in the Western Conference Finals that he felt like Saric was struggling with his confidence early on in the playoffs, but figured something out against the Clippers where it was just like, go out and play, be tougher than your opponent. And he has a bit of a herky-jerky game, but he has some skill with that herky-jerky game, and he can play both forward and center. So the question now is, do you go with Torrey Craig and play with a small ball 5 moving forward, or is it going to be Frank Kaminsky, who we saw get some minutes last night? The good thing for the Suns and that deep bench that they have is that they have options. And one potential nickname, how about the solar system?
You're not getting traction on this set with that, Dave. I hate to, not going to lie to you. The faces of these two gentlemen to my left they're not what you'd want. Dave, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you again throughout this series. Still ahead.
And just sort of setting the tone, he and Monty Williams, of course. And this is not new because they've been doing this the entire season. Focus. They don't take plays. I mean, Chris doesn't want them to take plays off it. He's gotten that over to the younger players like DeAndre Ayton. Here's what we do. Here's how we do it. We do it this way all the time. No excuses. Mm-hmm. And they played that way. Yes. They played the way they played in all but 2 games in the playoffs. And then Chris's performance. I mean, just taking advantage of Milwaukee's. Again, I can't trust Milwaukee because I don't even know what they're doing half the time, and particularly defensively. You can't have those forwards. You have to have guards. If you're gonna switch, you have to figure out how to keep those guys out of Chris Paul's way, because he's going to torch them. I watched the game last night with Isaiah Thomas and with Avery Johnson, and it was so funny, Matt, because they're just explaining what is going to happen 8 seconds before it happens every single possession.
That's amazing.
Because they know how they were when confronted with Brook Lopez, with Tucker, with Bobby Portis. You're not stopping Chris Paul. So all of that, I guess, goes into my mix on what just impressed me last night.
Yeah, overall, Chris, very impressive. His first after 16 years finally getting here. But really what surprised me the most is just the poise and the patience that the younger players play with. You could never tell that this young Phoenix team has never been here. They've acted like this is, hey, we're returning here like the Golden State Warriors or something like that. So really impressed with the young players, the way they came out and played. Aiden, 22 and 19. Book picked his spots. And as Mike said, after Chris's first quarter feeling out the flow of the game, he really started picking and choosing his spots and was just tearing the defense up, but also getting other players involved as well.
Well, look, we all know how smart Chris Paul is, right? So especially with the defensive switching that the Bucks were doing. And they worked on this all year, right? We saw them all season learn to switch right in front of us on the fly because it was what they were criticized for not doing the previous year. But Chris is so smart. He just picked everything apart, especially in the third quarter. So his 32 points, 16 came in that third quarter. And that's really what put the Phoenix Suns on that rocket ship to this win. You played with Chris, obviously. Yes. What is he like on the floor in those moments that he is able to be as surgical as we saw him last night?
Just he's seeing plays before they happen. And as Mike spoke with Isaiah and Avery, great point guards see the play before it happens. They know. So no matter where you're going to hide a Brook Lopez or a Bobby Portis or even a PJ Tucker on the switch, Chris is going to find them. Mm-hmm. And what I loved about it was obviously he was in his ISOs. No matter if they switched or they dropped, Chris was able to get to his spots and either put pressure by throwing lobs, finding kicking out for threes, or getting to his spots and knocking down that mid-range. And then Devin Booker followed suit. He was coming downhill off the pick and roll all night, getting to his spot and pull it up, fading away a little bit and knocking shots down.
Well, do you want to talk about the other side? Because it wasn't all bad for the Bucks last night. They got Giannis Antetokounmpo back, returning from that hyperextended knee. He scored 20 points. He grabbed 17 rebounds, 35 minutes of action, had that amazing block, right? And after the game, he was asked if his knee bothered him throughout the night. Take a listen to how he described it.
At the end of the day, I'm out there. I feel good. I don't feel pain. I can run, I can jump, I can set screens, I can rebound the ball, I can do stuff. So I'm good, I'm happy that I'm out there. At the end of the day, I haven't watched the clip, but when the play happened, I thought I'm going to be out for a year, So I'm just happy that two games later, I'm back.
It's so just striking when he says that, and you can imagine him feeling like that in that moment. Well, Bon, we had Chris Bosh on the show last week, and he said he had the exact same injury. And his estimation from his own experience was that he didn't expect Giannis to be back for the entire playoffs. How would you grade his return last night?
A+. I'm grading the whole thing, the whole situation. He could have been out.
Right.
And instead, he plays 35 minutes. I realized he wasn't Giannis at his best. But the fact that he was out there and he gave them this, first of all, the Bucks have to feel so much better going into game 2, having seen this from Giannis, this level of production. And obviously, like late in the game, it seems like he was a little gassed, and you don't know if there was soreness. Like he said, no pain. Could have been soreness. But man, for Giannis to be out there, I thought when they upgraded him from doubtful to questionable yesterday, I thought he's playing.
Yeah.
Right? And they're not going to talk him out of it. And I said I would like to see him wait till Sunday, get 5 extra days. But in talking to, again, former players, former great players, and Matt probably feels this way too, you want to play now. You don't know when this is coming back. 4 games is such a brief time, too, minimum 4, that I've totally changed on this. Giannis knew what he was doing. Other people either got out of the way or he forced them out of the way in terms of the decision making. And this is why we have people who have played in the biggest stages to listen to,
right.
Because you knew how important that was to Giannis, didn't you, going in?
When I saw the injury initially, I thought he was done for the rest of the playoffs. I mean, that was a real hyperextension, and normally timetable on that is anywhere 3, 6, 8 weeks. For him to turn around and only miss 2 games, first of all, for him to come back, hats off. He's an emotional leader, and he leads by how hard he plays. Most of the time with players, and I saw this with Giannis, he was a little hesitant. I saw a little limp early in the first half, but I think that chase down block at the end of the first half proved to him that my knee is okay, because a lot of times when we coming back from knee injuries, I had one knee injury, the hardest thing to do once we're medically cleared is really trust it, especially him. He's someone who's Euro stepping from half court, dunking on people consistently, and that's the knee he's going to have to really plan on. So when he was able to hit that chase down block, I think we saw a little bit more of the old Giannis in the second half. He's putting more pressure on the defense, attacking the basket, knocking his free throws down. So I'm very encouraged about Milwaukee because he's only going to get better from here.
And look, there are different skills that different players have, right? And one skill is durability. There are guys who just are physically able to withstand more. They call him the Greek freak for a reason.
Right.
He is a freak of nature physically in a lot of ways, right? His size, his body type, and apparently now we've seen this with LeBron through the years too, the ability to sustain an injury and withstand it and come back a little bit quicker than others would or that we expect. The only worry I have, despite how encouraging what he did last night was, and especially as you're right, Matt, that chase down block said, oh, he's got movement too, that's good. We saw with Kevin Durant him come back from an injury because of all of that pressure that you are talking about, Mike, right? Wanting to be there for your team, knowing how rare finals appearances can be. And when one side of the body is weakened, it opens you up to other significant injuries. Do you worry about that at all with Giannis? Or do you feel like what you saw last night, he's out of the woods?
Well, I don't know if you're ever out of the woods, but Matt said something to me that is so important about the way Giannis plays. With the Euro stepping all the time and you're coming down and putting all that pressure on one leg, and you see that you're looking at it, and a couple of times last night I just sort of
cringed.
Yes. And I hope that he is through the woods. I hope that he doesn't have to worry about this anymore, because you want to see. Look, the injuries have defined the playoffs all too much anyway. These playoffs.
Yep.
So if you can see Giannis at as close to full strength as he can be, I think that's great for the game. It's great for people watching it, for the product, for him. For the franchise, and for all involved.
I think him in particular, because they've had some shortcomings. Obviously, 2-time MVP, number 1 seed, fell short. They're finally here, and then he incurred a bad injury. So the fact that he's out there, obviously he's not 100%, but the fact that he's going to go down fighting, whether they win or lose, with Giannis is important to him and important to the rest of the league and for former players. Because, like I said, you don't never know when your next finals opportunity is going to come around. This is Chris's first opportunity after 16 years, so you got to cherish these moments.
And look, he's been open about the fact that he heard all of that criticism, especially after he won his second MVP. To be a back-to-back MVP, but get bounced early in the playoffs and have the guy that some other people thought should be an MVP end up winning the finals. Giannis came out and said, I don't think that this really counts until I win a title. And he earned a lot of players' respect by doing that. And you can see he wants to pay that off. All right, coming